continuing with the words from the RİSALE-İ NUR collection. We did the first word last week. Until the end of the year, we will continue and we'll try to finish till the 9th word. It's a big book. And I don't know if everyone knows what the RİSALE-İ NUR collection is. It's by Bediüzzaman Said Nursi. And they are like 6,000 pages of collections. And they are based on the Quranic exegesis, you know, the tafsir of the Quran. There are various, books, and words are one of them. It's quite a thick book, words. And Bediüzzaman Said Nursi himself says that whoever, reads the words from beginning to the end, by understanding it, comprehending it, they will become an important scholar of this era. By one book, that's what he says. Because it's all based on the Quran, and the first word that we looked at last week, it's only 3 pages, but it is just based on the term Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That's all. We begin in the name of Allah, Rahman and Rahim. Just that, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. He explains it in 3 pages. There are people who opened that up, and they even made a whole book out of Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That's all. Just Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So last week we looked at the first word. Now we are going to look at second word. And it is based on الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. In Surah Al-Baqarah, how it starts, Alif Lam Mim. There's a part there, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, meaning that those who believe in the ghaib. Ghaib is the unseen, things that exist beyond matter. And he's going to talk about that here, why it's so important. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. If you want to understand what a great happiness and bounty, what a great pleasure and ease are to be found in belief in God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listen to this story, which is in the form of an analogy. So usually, as you know, especially in these first 9 words, he uses many analogies, tiny analogies, and then he goes into the reality, the facts. If you want to, sorry, I read that part. Listen to this analogy. One time, 2 men went on a journey for both pleasure and business. One set off in a selfish, inauspicious direction, and the other on a godly, propitious way. Since the selfish man was both conceited, self-centered, and pessimistic, he ended up in what seems to be a most wicked country or region, wherever he went, due to his pessimism. He looked around, and everywhere he saw the powerless and the unfortunate lamenting in the grasp of fearsome bullying tyrants, weeping at their destruction. So this one man goes that way, but he is self-centered, conceited, pessimistic person. And he saw, and in the country that he went, there was people being bullied. Everyone is in fear. Everyone is powerless. Everyone is weeping at the destructions they see. So he saw the same grievous, painful situation in all places that he traveled. No matter where he saw the same picture. The whole country took on the form of a house of mourning. Apart from becoming drunk, he could not find no way of not noticing this grievous, somber situation. He thought the only way that I can, protect my sanity, I must drink. Then I'll forget about all of these things happening around me. So, for everyone, for him, seemed to be an enemy and foreign, and all around he saw horrible corpses and despairing, weeping orphans. His conscience was at a state of torment. The other man, who was godly, devout, fair-minded and with fine morals, he went to another country too. He took a path, he went to another country. And in his view, he saw that this was an excellent country where he went to. This good man saw universal rejoicing in the land he had entered. Everywhere was a joyful festival, a place for the remembrance of God, overflowing with rapture and happiness. Everyone seemed to him a friend and a relation. Throughout the country, he saw the festive celebrations of a general discharge from the duties accompanied by the cries of good wishes and thanks. He also heard the sound of a drum and a band for the enlistment of soldiers with happy calls of Allahu Akbar, God be great, God is the most greatest. And there was also shouting of La ilaha illallah, there is no gods but Allah. Rather than being grieved at the suffering of both himself and all the people, like the first miserable man, this fortunate man was pleased and happy at both his own joy and for the joy of the inhabitants of that country. He was happy. Furthermore, he was able to do some profitable trade. And then he offered his thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this was the story. So now he's going to go into reality. There's one more part here. He says something. Okay. After a while, he returned and came across the other men. They met each other again. He understood his condition. He looked at the other man who went the wrong path. He saw how, bad his condition was. And he said to him, you were out of your mind to choose that path. The ugliness within you must have been reflected on the outer world. And so that you imagined laughters to be weeping and discharge from duties to be sack and pillage. Come to your senses and purify your heart that this calamitous veil is raised from your eyes and you can see the truth. For the country of an utterly just, compassionate, beneficent, powerful, order-loving and kind king could not be as you imagined in your mind. Nor could a country which demonstrated this number of clear signs as progress and achievement. The unhappy man later came to his senses, alhamdulillah, he came to his senses, and repented. He said, yes, I was crazy through drink. May Allah be pleased with you. You have saved me from a hellish state. So what is he explaining here? Now he begins with this. He goes into reality, because that was analogy. And Bediüzzaman always, when he's going to teach a lesson about something, he always addresses his own soul. He always begins with, oh, my nafs. And he adds that, if anyone else wants to listen to this with me, they are welcome to do so. But I'm speaking to my own soul, he says. Oh, my soul. You should know that the first man represents an unbeliever, disbeliever, or someone depraved and heedless, doesn't care about things. In his view, the world is a house of universal mourning. Why? Because he went to a country, because his mind is like that. His inside is like that. And he saw that around him. And what that means is place of mourning. If you look at the disbelievers, when they look at this world, they will see it as a huge cemetery, right? Because when they look the past history, everyone in the past, all human beings are under the ground now, rotting away. It's a huge cemetery. It's all dark, the past. You can never return to it. And when they look at the future, they see the same picture. It is a cemetery waiting to swallow everyone that exists now. So it's all dark, very gloomy, the mind. And then they look at the animal kingdom. They're attacking, killing each other, destroying each other, human beings hurting each other. Everything is destruction in the world. There is nothing beautiful about it. They see chaos because their minds are chaotic. Their hearts are chaotic. And that is reflected onto their world. That's the reality. So that's what the first man's view was, because everything is, the universe is a place of mourning. All living creatures are orphans, weeping at the blows of death and separation, because they have families. Today I went to one funeral, for example. They have families. When you lose a family member, if you don't believe, that person is gone forever, never to exist again. How scary is that, isn't it? You will never see each other again. That's a very scary thing. And it's very bad for your psychology too. It's all severe. Everything is gone. Your mom, your father, whoever you lost. And that's the way they look at the world. All creatures are orphan. People are separated, never to, reunite again. Man and the animals are all alone and without ties, being ripped apart by the talons of the appointed hour. Mighty beings like the mountains and oceans are horrendous. They are all lifeless corpses. Got no importance, no value. Many grievous, crushing, terrifying delusions like these arise from his unbelief and misguidance. And they are all tormenting him. That is why he said, the only way to solve this, I'll go and drink myself. And isn't that the reality? You look at the world, we see this in Australia too. Work, straight after work, end up in the pub.
Yeah.
Isn't that's the life cycle?
Yeah, that's all they think about. Yeah.
That's the life cycle. And
we're not looking down on them.
And this is the reality almost all parts of the world, unfortunately. Yeah. If you don't believe, you got no goals. You don't have an objective. Your objective is, just to eat, survive, multiply, work, earn some money, and make sure that you don't think about very important things, And you drug yourself. Yeah. You drug yourself. And so you keep yourself in that, position. And you think that, it's really working, but in reality, it's not working. I can tell you that too. You might remember I did one statistic once. I read it somewhere and I explained it. If you look at a human being, let us say, average human being lives about 75 years, all right? Just we'll average it. 25 years of that lifetime, you spend sleeping. 25 years. If you sleep 8 hours a day, that's 1/3 of the 24 hours. Yes. So your entire life, 25 years went to sleep. 50 years left. Out of that 50 years, when you were a baby child, you don't even remember because you're not very self-aware. Take that out. And then the times you were sick, even when the time you spend in toilet and other things, all right, the time that you went to school, the time you spend at work, take them out too. They made the calculation. And the last years of your life, let us say 15 years of your life, you got so old that you cannot take pleasure out of your life anyway. You're not going to go and end up in nightclubs and things like that and fun because you're aged, You can't even do it. Your body won't allow it. That's finished too. You know what they ended up with? They said a human being has about 6 months of pleasure out of life in their entire life. That's all. If you calculate it, doesn't pass 6 months. And you are deceiving yourself. You think that this world is, just going to continue. I always explain that, this is a big blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. He has given us this, feeling, emotion we call tevehhüm ebediyye. it means, assumption that we will always exist. Because if we don't have that, we can't even survive in this world, I'm telling you. And technically, we know that the reality that death is inevitable and it will happen to all of us. But another reality is, if I went through the minds of everyone here, I think the oldest is Brother Abdul, about 67 now, brother. I guarantee you, if I was to say, who do you think will go first from us? No one will say in reality, their heart, will say, I'll probably be one of the last ones. All right. You won't even think about age and things like that, because you cannot put death and yourself together. You will think you will be around for a long time. It's the reality. You will never face that. And this gives us comfort too, in a way, because this is to protect our sanity. That's why Allah has placed that in. But what is the reality? What is the truth is this. The reason that human beings fall into this assumption, because we are all like mirrors. Mirror? If you take a piece of mirror and hold it towards the city, let us say city of Melbourne, you will see a small city appear in the mirror, yeah? Because it's reflecting. And you will think that as long as that city, so this city is, that city is around, this city will be around too. This is the assumption we are making. But when the mirror shakes, you shake the mirror, you will see that the city in the mirror is like an earthquake happening. But the real one, nothing is happening. It continues. And if this falls and breaks, the city in the mirror has gone to pieces. Now, humans are like that too. So we are mirrors, we are reflecting the world. Each one of us has their own world. We came here tonight, after we break up, we are all going to take our own worlds with us and go, isn't it? And we are reflecting in our own mirrors the world around us. And we think as long as this world is around, survives, this one will survive too. It's not the truth. It's like the mirror. So when our mirror breaks, shatters, the real world continues. Isn't that the reality? This is the assumption that human beings make. It's a psychological thing. But in reality, we don't even know if we are guaranteed to live until tomorrow or 1 hour. Yeah. If you look at the entire world, not everyone who dies are old. Isn't it? A lot of young people die too. So we have no guarantees. So if you don't have guarantee, you should be preparing somehow. You should be thinking, what's going to happen to me when I die? What happens? People should think about it. Even if I was to go, Vaisal is in now, in Vietnam, but even if I was to go for a holiday, let us say to Bali or something, you prepare for weeks. Yeah. You're just going to go there, stay for 1 week or 2 weeks, whatever. You prepare your luggages, your toothbrush, many things you take. Because you're going to go on a journey. Even though it's just a short journey, you're going to come back. What about the journey of Ahira? Eternal journey. Shouldn't you be preparing for that too? And this world, which is like a ship, the Quran describes that too. And it is moving in the sea or ocean of the universe in space. And as it moves, the ship, on its way, it allows many of its, how should I put it? People who are in there, inhabitants, let us say, it empties it out all the time. Empties it out. I think according to statistics, like every day there's about 200,000 people die every day. So, and sometimes I remind people of this. As I'm speaking these words right now, people have died. Few people have died. So the ship is always being emptied and new people come onto the journey. One side empties, the other side, new ones come, and it continues. So we need to understand life is like this. It's a reality. Either we are going to look at the face of death as a horrendous, end where you enter into non-existence, or we are going to look at it with the eye of the Quran, the light of the Quran, the nur of the Quran. We are going to see that death is not the end, but the beginning. But the beginning. It is just a changing of face. It is like coming out of this room and going into a much bigger place. That's what reality is, And sometimes, because of today's, as I said, funeral, they called me in the last minute to say a few things, to speak. So I made a speech there for about 5 minutes. And the person who died, brother, Best Foods?
Yes.
The owner of Best Foods. He passed away. Yeah. Hussein, yeah. He passed away. Yeah, they all died. Yeah, he passed away. May Allah, inshallah, have rahmah on him. And there I explained very, few things there as well. But I couldn't have more time to explain things. But this is what it is, when you pass on the message to the people about Ahira, that's why the Quran, emphasizes on Ahira heavily. Ahira is life after death. About 23% of the Quran is based on that. The entire book, 23% is about life after death. And I know that some human beings, it's difficult for them to envision or contemplate, comprehend a life after death, because it sounds like a mystery to us. But there are many examples in this world that sort of gives us the hint, a proof that Ahira exists. Like one example that I use a lot, I say, think about a baby in the mother's womb. All right. When the baby is in there, it stays there for about 9 months, approximately. Yeah? It's just a dark area that the baby is in. Now, just for argument's sake, hypothetically, if we go and speak to this baby, hypothetically, and say, you think that this is the world, real world, but you're wrong. There is a much bigger world than this. And one day you will go there. It has stars, moon, the sun, mountains, rivers, oceans. No matter how much we explain to that baby, it'll be very difficult for him to understand, even if he had intellect. Yes. Because can't envision, conceptualize it. It's impossible. Because that's the world for that baby. But if the baby had the ability to reason, use its intellect, the baby can figure out that there is a life after there. You know how? The baby will look at itself and say, why do I have eyes? It's all dark in here. There's nothing to see.
Yeah, what's the point of that?
Yeah, why do I have a tongue and a mouth? I'm being fed through the umbilical cord anyway. What is the purpose of these things here? Why do I have feet? There's nowhere to walk around. So then it can say to itself, since these things were given to me, maybe I'm going to use them somewhere else. See the logic? I'm going to use them somewhere else. And the reality is that, isn't it? It comes to this world and uses them. Yes. Yeah. And it's a fact. We see that it uses them. Now, when we look at ourselves and this world, we realize that whatever Allah has created, there is always a corresponding item. Always. Like he gave us eyes, he created light. He gave us ears, he created sound. He gave us noise, he created smell. Gave us tongues, he created taste. Everything corresponds. Now, there are some things that human beings have. We don't find a corresponding item in this world. One, we don't ever want to get old. Does anyone want to get old? No. We don't want to get sick. We don't want to be poor. We don't want to die. That's a human reality, isn't it? But is there a corresponding item here? Like the baby's legs and eyes? No. Why were we given them then? What is the purpose? We can think. If these things were given to us, then they must exist. That's what it means. One scholar says, if God did not want to give, he would not have given the feeling of want. Yeah. And you look at the animals, they don't have that feeling. They don't know about getting old. They don't know about, an eternal life. They can't think about those things. It means that, they don't have that eternal life. That's what it means. But with us, it was given to us. Then something must exist. That's why we have that. We have that connection. In the fitra, human fitra, that's a natural disposition and inclination. We have that. But if we look at this world, like it's mentioned here by Bediüzzaman, as a disbeliever, everything is gloomy. That's a guarantee. Everything is dark. There is no past. There is no future, because past can never be attained again. And future is not there yet. We are in this slice of space-time. We might not make it to the future anyway. So everything is dark for us. So when you make iman, when belief comes to your heart, it is like a huge light,
Yes.
And when you point it to the future, it becomes lively. You know that it exists. When you point it back in the past, you know that it is not really a dark, gloomy place. Because even from a physics perspective, scientific perspective, as you know, I have physics background as well. The past exists. It exists as a slice of space-time. Scientists have models for this. As the universe expands, it creates slices of space-time. And some of these slices are past, some of them are perhaps the future as well. Maybe it coexists too, from my perspective. I reckon the future exists as well. We just can't get there.
In this space.
Yeah, we are stuck in here. We are bound by this, but it exists. Because technically in science, in physics, you can travel to the future. Technically, you can. With velocity, you can travel to the future. I'll give you one example. If you build a spacecraft, there is one thing now around Earth. It's called the ISS, International Space Station. Someone is stuck there, some astronauts. They went to save them. You might have heard in the news here. It goes around the Earth, as I remember, in 90 minutes. It takes one orbit in 90 minutes, as I remember. It's pretty fast. And they have proven that people who are in that spacecraft, time goes slower for them than us. But it's only very, very millionth of a second or something. But it does. It's been proven, because that's the special relativity theory. It's been proven anyway. But imagine this, if they went almost the speed of light, right? Because the faster you go, the slower time becomes.
Yes.
Technically, if you do reach the speed of light, time stops, doesn't pass anymore. If you can reach that speed, right? So it means that, the sun's light, it's the fastest thing in the universe, light. Sun's light reaches Earth in 8 minutes time, because we are about 150 million kilometers away from the sun. If you do the math, about 8 minutes. But for the light itself, the photons, no time passes. It leaves the sun and it's here at the same instance. Time doesn't pass for the photon itself. For us, we are the observers, 8 minutes passes. Okay. So if these astronauts went around the Earth, you can get even, I did this before, ChatGPT to do the calculations. Yes. I give the information, it calculates. If it traveled, almost the speed of light went around the Earth. Let us say these astronauts went around the Earth in orbit at that speed for about a week. Just, I'm just giving an example. 1 week. When they come back to Earth, there will be like 100, 150 years past on Earth. We will all be dead, and they'll come back only a week past. So then,
Yeah, we will be going at different times.
yeah.
Yes.
So time is like this. It's very weird. So this is why I'm saying the future exists as well, because you can travel to the future. In fact, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, past, present, future doesn't have nothing, because Allah is not bound by time. He's not bound, limited by space. He created everything out of nothing.
He exists outside time and space, right?
So, we can't even say that. Technically, that's the only way you can express it, because human language is not enough. Because when you say outside, you are still putting him somewhere.
Yes.
In Islam, you cannot put Allah anywhere.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because he created space. So this is very interesting. So from Allah's perspective, all slices of space-time exist at the same time, simultaneously. That is why, like, for example, Jannat, Jahannam even exists for Allah, and people are in there already. All times exist for him at the same time. It's a very interesting thing, isn't it? Yeah, but I'll go back to this now. So, Bediüzzaman Said Nursi says, "Oh, my soul, know that the first man represents the unbeliever or someone depraved and heedless. Because of his mind frame, he views the world as a universal place of mourning. All living creatures are orphans, they are all weeping, and men and animals are, ripped apart by separation of death." And as I mentioned that part already, as for the other man, he is the believer. He recognizes and affirms the Almighty Allah, God Almighty. In his view, this world is only a place, abode, a realm, where the names of the All-Merciful One are constantly recited and reflected. Because, as you know, in Islam, Allah, the Almighty, has names, and he has attributes, names and attributes. And his names are reflected on the things that he has created. Just a simple example, human beings have compassion. Yes, we are compassionate beings. Its origin is from him, because he is the all-compassionate one. So when we show compassion to other, human beings, or even to animals, or even to plants, we are actually reflecting his compassion, like a mirror. We are reflecting it. But some people, some disbelievers, they think that originates from them. That's where the problem is. That compassion, they think and they are similar to a piece of glass on the ground that reflects the sun's light. Because when the sun is up there, in the glass, tiny glass, transparent objects that are, so you will see a little tiny sun, reflecting its light. But this thing cannot say, "I am the sun." Yes. It's only a reflection. Sun is 1.3 million times bigger than the Earth. That's how big it is. You can fit 1.3 million Earths in it. So how can a little glass claim that, I am the compassionate? No, it doesn't come from you. You are just reflecting his compassion. But that's one example. There are many examples. Allah has the attribute of ilm. Ilm means knowledge. He has given some of those attributes to humans too. In a finite measures, we have knowledge too. But the difference is this, so we can make a comparison. Our knowledge could increase, could build up, and then we can lose it too as we get older. Some things we might lose. The knowledge of Allah is limitless, infinite, so it cannot be increased or decreased. Whatever there is to be known, he knows. Yes. That's what it means. So we make a comparison so we can understand Allah, because we cannot understand his that, means his essence. We cannot comprehend that. It's impossible. The Quran says he encompasses all eyes. No eyes can encompass him. So his that cannot be understood. He is not a human-like creature, as depicted in some other religions. This bearded man sitting on a throne or something like that. Like Zeus or something like. There's no such a thing. So. In Islamic theology, God, we don't have an anthropomorphic view of God, meaning, human-like view of God, or energy, or whatever you can figure out. Allah is not like that. He is beyond comprehension. In fact, one scholar says, however you imagine Allah to be, he is not like that. You can't imagine. That is why we get to know him through his names and attributes. Because we see the reflection of his names. One of his names is Rezzaq, which means the sustainer, provides sustenance, gives, food. And he does this not only for us. You look at a tiny, ant, it has a dot-like stomach, and Allah sends food for that animal too. Allah sends the rizq of every creature he has created. But you have to make some effort to get it. I remember somebody asked me, if it's all destined and things like that, then shouldn't we make an effort? Is it going to come to us? I said, no, it's not like that. You might remember I explained one incident where this famous sheikh, he saw in the Quran, it says rizq is under guarantee, sustenance, He said, if it's under guarantee, then I don't need to do anything. It's a sheikh or a big alim. So he locks himself into his house in one room. He is constantly worshipping. He says, Quran says, it's guaranteed it will come to my feet, the sustenance. One day passes, 2 days passes, he's hungry, his stomach is grumbling. And he says, I'm going to be consistent. It is going to be sent to me. On the 3rd day, his neighbor, a lady, she made some food. It's nice and hot, beautiful smell, So she goes, I better give some to the scholar too, So she comes out of her house, goes to his door and knocks on the door. He goes, I'm not going to answer. It's going to come to my food. Sustenance is guaranteed, And she knocks again, no answer. For the 3rd time, as in Islamic, it's tradition to knock 3 times and then walk away. She speaks to herself. She goes, this beautiful food is going to go to waste. He's not home, As soon as she says this, there's this sound from inside the house. Like this, he coughs. So she goes, he's home. She pushes the thing right under the door, And then the sheikh says, yes, sustenance is under guarantee, but you need to at least cough for it. Cough for it.
Yes, yeah.
So it means that you need to show some effort. Allah created it all. It's all there. But if you don't show any effort, you're not going to get it. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does is, the more weak you are, the more impotent you are, the more rizq comes, sustenance. The more strong you are, the more intelligent you are, it comes less. Allah says, go work for it. Yeah, we see this.
Giving you different capacity,
yes. And we see this in the nature anyway. When you look at the animal kingdom or even the plants, the most least, let us say, the least capacity or capability are the plants. A tree just stands there. Can't even move. Can't go and gather food, but it needs food too, the tree. And it comes to its feet and comes to its leaf with the sun, with the minerals, with the water in the ground. It's sent to it directly. And it uses that photosynthesis to produce chlorophyll and things like that to feed itself. A little bit more capable animals, they just put a little bit effort. Like cows, sheep, and things like that. They're not very intelligent animals, extremely intelligent animals. They're not powerful too. They're weak. They can be hunted easily. But food is all around them. All the grass everywhere. They don't have to show much effort. Just put their heads down. That's all. And we see that all day their heads are down. If you drive into countryside, when you look at, you'll see the cows. The head always down, from morning till night. The food is all around. But the stronger they get, the more capable they get, it's more hard and difficult to get the food because they have to show some effort. Like lions, you know, powerful, king of the jungle, but they always walk around with their bones sticking out. You know, isn't that? Because they got power, and Allah said, I gave you the ability, go and seek for your food. Humans are like that. Humans are very capable. So we need to make that effort. Yeah, we need to at least cough. And see the reality. I'm getting there, inshallah. I don't want to keep you too much thing to it. So the other man who is a believer, he recognizes and affirms Almighty Allah. Because of this, when he looks around, you know, he went to our country. Remember, the country is this world, really. That's what he is, this universe. He looks around, he sees all the manifestations and reflections of God everywhere. He can hear the echoes of, you know, La ilaha illallah, God is one. He is the creator. A place of instructions. Nothing happens chaotically for man and the animals. A field of examination for human beings and the jinn. Because this is a testing place, the world. And all animal and human deaths are only a demobilization. It is not going into non-existence, in particular humans. It is demobilization. It is like you join the army, your duty is finished, they let you out. So we've done our duty in this world. When we die, we demobilize, we are moved into another realm. Everything is different there, the view, when you believe, you know. Those who have completed their duties of life depart from this transient world, ephemeral, short-lived world, and they go to another. They are more happy, a trouble-free world, in a world, so that that place may be made for new officials to come and work. So the world needs to be emptied so others can come. You know, sometimes people say death is horrific. If God is so merciful, your God, why is he allowing killing, you know, living beings, the world and things like that? If we didn't die, you ever thought what would happen? They don't even think about that. You know, if people did not die for about 50 years, imagine the population of the world. Billions of people, no more food, animals, you know, numbers everywhere. They made an estimation that even if just bugs and insects did not die, within a year, the earth would be covered 1 meter high in insects. They don't die because they just multiply. And imagine if, you know, your loved one, your grandma, grandfather, keep on getting old and they can't die. 100, 200, 500, you know, they are deteriorating, but they can't die. They can't even go to the toilet themselves. They can't clean themselves. They can't eat. They can't wash themselves. That's horrific. So death really, in reality, is a blessing. Blessing. So it is demobilization. That's what he's saying. They are moved to a new place so that new ones can come. And in this world, for a believer, each living being is a joyful, regular soldier. We're all like soldiers, and honest, contented officials. And all voices are either glorification of God and recitation of his names at the outset of their duties. Nothing is chaotic. When you hear things, they're all, you know, remembering God. They're all recitations. You know, they mean something. They're saying we are doing a duty. Even lifeless matter. You know, everything in the universe is made up of quantum particles. Yeah?
Yes.
Atom, and there are much smaller particles in them. And they all function perfectly. You know, electrons in momentum around the nucleus, you know, you have in the nucleus neutrons, protons, smaller particles, quarks, gluons, and go on. And they're all functioning perfectly. There's no chaos there. Yeah. So if there is harmony and order there, it indicates they're following a command. Someone's controlling them. It is not happening by just chance, coincidences. They are under the order of someone. That's what indicates. So for an electron to move around the atom, keep that going, it is actually saying, Allahu Akbar, this is my duty. I'm following his command. It doesn't really need to speak. It is a language of action. That's what it is. Language of actions. Human beings, you know, in their productions, you see the same thing. When I look at this table here, the table doesn't need to talk. You look at it, you say, it says, I'm a table. I was made so that things can be put on me. It's true, isn't it? It doesn't need to talk. You know its purpose by looking at it. So universe is like that too. Everything tells us that I'm here for a purpose. Someone designed me so I can serve this purpose. So for a believer, everything changes, you know, status. Everything is different. You see, oh, there's purpose in this. This is so beautiful. There's design in this. So, and always it takes you to your Lord. Always. It takes you to that grand artist. One time in one debate, and I was talking about this because with an atheist, I do a lot of programs, as I said before, on YouTube programs and that. And they said, I gave them the example, you know, is there a proof for God? I can provide 1,000,000 proofs. Yes. You cannot provide one proof for his non-existence. It's not possible. Correct. You cannot provide evidence to his non-existence. It is not possible. Scientifically not possible. Philosophically not possible. And I said to them, look, if you look at the teleological argument, very simple. Teleological argument means the design argument. I said, when you look at the painting of Mona Lisa, you know, you see Leonardo da Vinci. Yes. You don't need to see Leonardo da Vinci himself. Yes. You know, the art indicates the artist. It's very simple. And this guy came back at me and said, he said, but in that case, we know that Leonardo da Vinci existed, you know, people have witnessed him, you know, things like that, yes. You know, but in the universe, we don't see that. There may be art there, but we don't see who made it, you know. I said, people find paintings, cave paintings, like for example, in Australia too. The oldest cave paintings, they go back about 17,000 years. It's a long time, 17,000 years. I said, has anyone seen the artist there? Yes. No. But do we know that a human made that? Yes. Of course. Yes. We don't need to see the artist. When we see the art, we know someone made this. And when we look at the universe, the perfection, the symmetry, the beauty, the purpose, we see an artist do that. And it's a very great artist, grand artist. It's there. He presents himself to us, isn't it? Very clearly. Time is almost thing. I'll just read the last very small section here, and then we can conclude. So a believer sees everything differently. He or she realizes that they're all there for an important purpose. And in the view of a believer, all beings are the friendly servants, amicable officials, agreeable books. Everything is like a book of the most generous Lord and all compassionate owner. Very many more subtle, exalted, pleasurable, and sweet truths like these become manifest and appear from his belief or her belief. That is to say, belief in God bears the seed of what is in fact is a tree of Tuba. The seed, sorry. The seed of the tree of Tuba. Tuba is in paradise, a tree in paradise. While unbelief conceals, it's hidden, the seed of Zakkum, tree of the hell. So disbelief has the seed of Zakkum, belief has the seed of Tuba. That means the salvation and security are only to be found in Islam, the truth, and Iman, which is belief. In which case, we should continually say, praise be to God for the religion of Islam and perfect belief. So that, Allah has blessed us with it. Iman. I'll stop there because it's been almost an hour. There are people in the online as well. Thank you, everybody online, for your participation. Keep on praying for us too, inshallah. We'll see you all next week. Look after yourself. Next week, the third word. We will look at the third word next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.